Hello, welcome to December 7th, 2022. Come to think of it, a day that will live in infamy. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation video. This is Rudy the dog. The two of them, Rudy and Ollie, are sorting out their morning places. Seems like wherever Rudy wants to sit, Ollie wants to sit there. So I picked Rudy up to hold him, so you can get a good place. Anyway, I do this video each and every morning shortly after waking up. It's 4:26 a.m. right now. And I do this in order to remember my life objectives and principles and to see how I did applying these to the challenges and opportunities that I met yesterday to plan for the coming day as well. Good morning, Parker. All right, let's begin. Last night and yesterday. Yesterday was a more challenging day than I had first imagined it would be. I found myself frustrated at work with the way things were going, but I had kind of there was a good outcome of all that. The outcome was I realized the root of a particular problem in one of my projects. In project management, as in just about any endeavor, there are three components, right? There's cost, quality, and time. And the way the old saying goes is you pick two. So if, for example, you want it fast and cheap, then you have to compromise on quality. But if you want it good and fast, then you're going to have to compromise on cost. You'll have to pay more to get that. And I realized yesterday the problem for one of my projects is that the customer, the vendor, the contract is written, I shouldn't say the vendor. The contract was written to focus, the choice that we made with the contract was time and cost. That means quality is what is sacrificed. And that's precisely the thing that we've been struggling with. Because we, the customer, are demanding higher quality. And I was in a meeting yesterday, and one of the vendor, point blank said, we won this bid on time. And I got it. I kind of had an empathetic moment when I put myself in their position. And I went, well, yeah. Now, that begs a lot of questions, right? Does that mean that we, the customer, let them off the hook in terms of quality? No, I don't think so. But how do we reconcile that? That we are going to demand, and we will continue to demand, high quality, yet the vendor has I guess that's the vendor's problem. They've backed themselves into a position of time, and that's where the pain point continues to be. I'll think about it more and continue working on that. But I found myself frustrated, and I think it came out a little bit. I usually do, one of my principles or an objective is good emotional reactions, to being top of my reactions, which I'm human, so I falter at that. And I was tired in the afternoon. It wasn't anything bad. Just I think it was clear that I wasn't my usual composed self, or seemingly composed self. That disappointed me too. And then last night, it's becoming the typical, thing now. In bed by around 9, out like a light, up by 2 or 3. I wake up at 4, up about 2 or 3, and just, can't sleep, thinking about work, thinking about problems at work. I don't think about life. I guess that's a good thing. My own personal life doesn't seem to trouble me. It's my professional responsibilities that are the source of my stress and upset, restlessness, and insomnia. call this cost, time, quality. Okay. Let's do the Good Life meditation. First, my 7 objectives as follows. Number 1 is to always be ready to die, to have my house in order, literally my home in order, including the books all stacked nicely, the desk clean, and my little area here nicely arranged, dog nicely settled on my lap, and of course my affairs, my bank accounts, my passwords to everything, all that stuff, debt managed or taken care of completely. Plus my relationships, my connections to others. To that end, I should probably call my mom today or tomorrow just to check in on her. It's been about a week, maybe 2 weeks. She doesn't like me to call too often, so I have to scatter it out. And then I also need to have my life's work in order, and it is. My life's work was the writing of Going Alone. Now I'm in the marketing stage where I just continue to beat this drum every morning and share the message of the Good Life Creed and the story of Going Alone. So number 1 is in good shape, being always ready to die. And as soon as I finish this video, then my life is done, and I can snap out at any moment, wink out. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of my time, to not waste my days, to not fritter away watching reruns on TV, which is something that I would call frittering away. I would admit that is not a good use of time to sit and watch television. Even though I do it for about an hour a day in the evening with my wife during and after dinner. We like to sit and watch our shows together. It's also a social moment with my wife. Number 3 is to develop and maintain. Let me say that better. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles and objectives. And that's precisely what I do when I engage in this Good Life meditation exercise, going over the creed and examining the objectives and principles one by one. I also do this during the day as I encounter issues and opportunities, and the principles and objectives float into my mind. It's funny how they do that. They're almost like visuals that come up. #fortitude. This is the time for fortitude. This is the time to be strong. Push through, dude. #reason. This is the time to look at something objectively, Kurt. It just kind of floats up. I think that's a result of this daily exercise. Number 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions, to become a man who doesn't overreact or fly off the handle, but keeps steady in every circumstance. And for the most part, that's pretty much how I operate these days, with the notable exception of yesterday, when, again, I didn't overreact, but I was definitely, I think you could read in my face that I was frustrated. We had a long meeting with a vendor, 2-hour meeting, to try and hammer out a problem, and I don't think we made the progress that we wanted to make. I think we still are at loggerheads regarding the best way to go forward. Darn it. But that's the problem. That's why I was frustrated. The objective I'm talking about here is good emotional reactions, reacting well, and I strive towards that every day. It takes self-control and discipline and reason to do that. Don't get your hand too close, he'll bite me. Number 5 is to perform good actions, just to do good things throughout the day. Like yesterday when I was at the beach after I got out of the water. I was picking up trash, little bits of trash that I found along the beach, and dumping them in the trash can. Little things. Next comes the next objective is to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities so that I'm operating within the bounds of what I can do and not expecting more than I am able to. And the last objective is to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully, just like I'm speaking right now. And with practice, it becomes part and parcel of who we are. Like, it's not my nature to speak in these measured tones and to enunciate words so clearly and carefully and to structure my sentences to strive towards eloquence. It's something that I work to do. This is an effort. Okay, now my 32 principles. Some of them I take as groups. So I'll identify, when I get to the group, I'll identify what the 2, 3, 4, or 5 principles are that go together and then treat them as a whole. I don't always do that. Sometimes I deal with them one by one. We'll see what I do today. The first principle is the principle of war. To always be fighting against the things that I already have onboarded in my mind as true. To be fighting against suggestions or propositions from others about what is true. And to fight against what I what I've discovered and I want to bring on board as true. You can see the theme here. To not accept things easily, to not believe easily, to be honest person, objective in my perspective, in my views, objective in my examinations, a skeptic, and then willing to accept the humiliation when I discover that I'm wrong. Those are the 4 sub-principles of the principle of reason, actually, which is principle number 2. So I got ahead of myself, didn't I? War is the fight against what I think it might be true or I already think is true. And reason is the instrument to get there. And the 4 sub-principles of reason are honesty, objectivity, doubt, and humiliation. There, I think I sorted that out. More coffee. Apply more coffee. Okay, next is this is 2 principles that go together. The homunculus, just another word that I use to describe my consciousness. Excuse me, little boy. And then number 2 is the anchor hold. The anchor hold is the reminder that my consciousness is subject to my mortality and will die with me. And then next comes the principle of the home of good and evil. Right and wrong are not absolutes floating around the universe. They exist in our minds as opinions. Then comes the next principle called purpose. And my 3 purposes in life are, number 1, to be a good husband and father. I call that the sub-principle of biology. The biological mandate to find a mate, reproduce, raise a child. The second principle in my life, sub-principle that is the second sub-purpose that is to be a virtuous man, seeking after the improvement of the well-being of thinking creatures. And the third sub-purpose is whatever personal mission I have chosen to take on. And my personal mission in life is to share my book, Going Alone. It's available in bookstores, and it's also available online on Amazon. But if you want a signed copy, you can go to goingalone.org and buy it there. And that book will come signed, and I'll also illustrate the inner cover here with a desert scene from Siberia Ghost Town. There's sand in the book from the beach. This is my beach copy. That's my sub-purpose number 3, right? So the 3 purposes in my life are to be a husband and father, to be a good man pursuing virtue, where virtue is seeking after the improvement of the well-being of thinking creatures, and then the sharing of my message of going alone, and in particular the principles and objectives They constitute the good life creed. Exactly what I'm talking about right now. All right, the next principle is the principle of nature. A reminder and recognition that everything has a particular nature. This little dog has a particular nature. This camera has a nature. I have a particular nature, so do you. My job does. Projects do. The nature of my project in question is that the vendor selected for time and cost or quality is going to suffer. It has to in that model. And as a customer, we're demanding all three. That's a good way to put it. The trouble is that we can't say we're not going to accept the quality. So gosh, I have to think more about this. So really the vendors kind of got painted themselves into a corner, haven't they? Yeah, it's the vendor's problem. Because the quality should be expected, but now I understand at least the nature of the problem, and I can deal with it objectively, honestly. Yeah, using reason. These tools, they really are handy. All right, after the principle of nature comes the principle of maturity and the sub-principles of, is that right? Nature. Yeah, I think so. Atomic principle, principle of nature. No, a little voice inside was screaming, no, you're missing one. And I am. Before maturity comes a principle called the pirate ride. A funny name that I lifted, kind of, from the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland, where I noticed that the human automatons, the pirates and all the animals, they look so real, but they're really just, robots. And I was thinking, so to us, we really appear as though we're willful, deliberate creatures thinking about our life and making decisions, and we are. But the thing is, I just have this great suspicion that we're not doing that of our own volition necessarily. Instead, we're doing this by way of consequence of the universe around us, which when explored far enough, when you pull that thread far enough, it reveals that free will isn't there. Free will is an illusion, a very convincing one. Now the trick is that the problem is that I can't prove that. I don't know how to demonstrate that that's actually the case. So I accept it. I accept it simply because I believe it. I don't know what to do with a mind that believes in spite of my principles. Undisciplined in that way, but I do believe it. I have this belief that free will is an illusion, and I'm kind of ashamed of that, because I can't support that belief very well, but nevertheless I believe. I guess this is what the situation of some people who have faith would be like, right? They believe. Well, in that case, they're calling it out. They've chosen to believe in spite of the lack of evidence, or good evidence at least. But anyway, I think I've gone on long enough about that. The pirate ride is my principle that helped me to remember my belief that free will is an illusion, completely. Or just the business end of the universe nudging and pushing us around. Next comes the principle of maturity, and the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude and integrity. Maturity comes when we have experience in life. We've built up a catalog of what we've experienced, and we remember what that is. And then we have the strength and fortitude to avoid making the same mistakes again, or similar mistakes, and to pursue better ends. And then the result of that is the integrity of a life that's lived in better accord with our true with the wisdom that we've accumulated, and and through the fortitude of our efforts. Because as they say, it's either fortitude now or regret later. Pick one. What if you could pick a little of each? Oh, I think you could. I think we could. Okay, next is the social principle. We are social creatures. We human beings need each other. We need our dogs too, and our cats and our pets. The sub-principles here are diplomacy, justice, conspiracy. Diplomacy is what we do when we work together to compromise and find agreements that allow us to move forward. Justice is what we're seeking, creating the just city. And conspiracy is what we do when we lock arms, especially after diplomacy, to march forward towards justice. So maybe I should adjust the order of those. Maybe it should be diplomacy, conspiracy, justice. I think that's better. Yeah, I'll adjust that. Diplomacy, conspiracy, justice. Maybe I should write that down real quick. Otherwise, I might forget. No, but I like this better. Okay, but D, C, J. That'll help me remember. Okay, the next principle is this principle of public speaking. A reminder and suggestion towards eloquence and clear, good thought. Let me adjust this a little bit. Public speaking. The sub-principles here are best words, developing a good vocabulary, and then working hard to be able to apply those words well, not in a showy way, but in a way that helps to support the communication that we seek to to help us to improve the communication of whatever message we seek to share. So good vocabulary, right words is what that one is. Having a lot of words and then using the right ones. Eloquence, developing eloquence over time through repeated practice of communication and also of speaking, and also watching others who can speak well and learning from their example. Prudence. Prudence is the filter of our values that we require our communication to go through en route to its consumer. That way, if we use prudence, then what comes out of our mouth or our pen or from our keyboard is in alignment with our values, and we are enjoying that aforementioned integrity again. And there are two negative elements to public speaking. These are rumor and gossip. And I recommend and try to avoid doing either of those, which are also sins in my worldview, leading to a damnation of sorts in the here and now. Okay, that was that. Next is distraction and agency in the great indifference. Distraction, this principle suggests that we spend our lives distracting ourselves with our work and our homes and our hobbies, our communities, our families, our religion, and our God. We use those as distractions so that we don't have to see the awful nothing that I call the great indifference, which is recognition that there is no God and that we're alone. A lot of people don't want to recognize that because that then saddles their minds with all the responsibility of living well. And so they instead keep themselves busy and distracted with all these other things. And you can do that right up into the end to your death and really never face the indifference, and a lot of people seem to do that. For someone like me, I'd rather face the empty. I'd rather go alone, discover what isn't there, and then turn back and reconcile my life accordingly. It's a harder path, I think. Well, at least it's more a lonely path. It's alone after all. And it comes back alone, but it's also quite rewarding. Okay, the next is, pardon me. This is a series of 5 principles. These are temperance, life will not go well, the horror show, that which must be born, and the feast of woeful. Taken together, temperance is what we do to exercise self-control, to have discipline over ourselves, our minds and our bodies, our consumption, everything. Life will not go well is a reminder that life's going to be hard. Tough things are going to happen. Expect them. The horror show is a remembrance of the fact that not only will life not go well at times, but sometimes it will not go well to horrifying and deadly ends and consequences. That's part of what this life is about as also. So I ready myself for that as best I can. Although it's really hard. I like to think I'm strong, facing down the emptiness, but I have a hard time facing down these really painful moments that are coming, that I witness others people experiencing and that are coming for me too, and my family. And then that which must be born suggests that it's up to us to bear. We have the responsibility to carry this weight, the weight of the fact that life will not go well, and the horror show. And then the feast of woeful is a reminder and suggestion towards not spewing out our upset into the world, but controlling it, consuming it, swallowing it down in measured doses so that we don't soil others. And when others are engaged in soiling us, to not facilitate that gratuitously. Maybe be there, offer a tissue, lend a shoulder to cry on, but not consume it ourselves, not take it in and let it soil us. It just spreads the disease. Okay, that's the 5 that I did. Now, the next principle is called the best seat in the house, a reminder to be all right with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing. Then the next one is a series of 4 principles that go together. These are the restless man. The sense of wanting some adventure in life usually awakens in our teenage years and through the 20s. The path of wildness, that's what we do when we set out to have that adventure. We step upon the path. So it's a venue, it's an avenue out of the current status quo into a new paradigm. The great life adventure, that's whatever comes of that effort of going out onto the adventurous life, and then coming back with having a great life adventure in our bags, in our mental suitcase. And then lastly, the risk of a weight risk. Oh, excuse me. This is a simple reminder that if we feel that long for adventure at a young age, in particular, and if we don't do it, then there'll be a price to pay later. Okay, now, got through that. The next one is another principle called sin and damnation. In my worldview, there are 8 sins. These are falsity, credulity, faith, superstition, dogma, authority, rumor, and gossip. Engaging in any of those results in a damnation of sorts in the here and now. So we don't want to be untrue to others. There are times you could be true. You could be untrue for necessity's sake, like telling the Nazi guards that Anne Frank isn't in the basement. I think that's a truth we can live, an untruth we can live with. But you get the idea. For the most part, being true, not believing things too readily, and not spreading rumors or not engaging in gossip. The consequence, again, is damnation in the here and now. Being a liar or being gullible or being a rumor-mongering gossip. Rumor monger. Okay, the next one is complete oblivion. If there is no God and we do have no soul, there is no heaven or hell, then after death, there's oblivion, and it's absolute this time. And I just simply train myself not to expect more. There'll be no final reunion with our loved ones, and therefore no final chance of reconciliation, and no final justice, because there's nothing to follow. And no one or no thing to dispense out the justice. And no universal standard against which to measure right and wrong. Again, our subjective opinions that we hold. Okay, swinging back then to complete oblivion, and then the bullseye aim, shooting for the mark and everything in life, but usually missing by a little bit. The uphill climb, finishing today stronger, better, more educated, fitter, if we can. That's a losing battle, but in the end, you get the idea. Today I'm going to finish stronger than yesterday, and tomorrow better still. Arena and utility is next. Life is this arena for the development of our own creed of objectives and principles that we can then apply to our lives to improve our living and the impact that we have on the world, making a positive good change or positive good impact. Okay, well, let's see. Arena and utility, I talked about that one. Oh yeah, nothing is enough. Suggestion towards moderation or abstinence. We're just getting by with less, right? Like I would like to get by with, when I get back to Japan, I don't want a personal computer. I just want to do everything on my phone. And I think I'm getting there. Next is, the last one is the principle of fun. A suggestion to remember to have fun today, to plan for fun tomorrow, and to enjoy the memories of fun yesterday. There we did it. That's my Good Life Creed. 7 objectives and 32 principles all laid out. Now I've got those all fresh in my mind for the day. Now let's plan for the day. And I need to remind myself to do something fun today too. So today I've got a hard day of work ahead of me. It's a Wednesday. I was supposed to go to a company party, but Yumiko was at a company event for her organization last week. And it was a party of sorts, and people came down with COVID. So it's possible she brought it home. I may be infected. I don't want to go into the office and spread it around. So I'll attend the event can be attended remotely, so I'll attend it remotely. I have a few meetings today. I'll push through them, and I have things I want to. On my main project, I want to get the team operational on a task that they need to be doing this week. We're having a meeting with them in the morning to help them to align to that, help them to understand what they're looking for and what they can see and what they won't. I know I'm being vague, but that's okay. I don't need to share too much detail here. I need to, my other projects, keep them moving forward. I do want to create a new hero banner for the one website. I'll do that. I should be writing these things down. Yeah, maybe I will. Have I got that in my pen? This is an interesting twist. What if I was to write down my day's objectives? I think I tried that the other day, last couple of weeks ago, didn't I? So for objectives for today is 1, I want to, the WCM team, content editing. I want to work on that, get the team working on that. And then I want to work on the Connect website hero banner. I also want to, the schedule, the web content management schedule. I am running out of ink. I need a new pen. those three things alone, if I can get those under a good route, I want to attend that party that's going to be like 2 or 3 hours. So that's going to take the day, just doing those things. So I think I've got my day laid out there. And for fun, I'm going to, at 4 o'clock, or maybe at 4:30, I will race off to the beach and do my ocean swim, which I really enjoy. I'll make sure that I give the boys a good walk at lunchtime, because I felt bad. Yesterday I was so busy at work, I didn't get to take them out for a good lunchtime walk. And so I raced home. It was a nice evening at the beach. It was actually a little bit warm. I could have stayed longer, but I wanted to race. I wanted to come home and make sure the dogs got a good walk. Still, they wanted to stay home. So I'll take them out for a longer walk at lunchtime, so I have more time at liberty in the evening. That's what I'll do. That'll be the fun part. Then, of course, I'll have a beer in the evening with my wife. She'll have a glass of wine. I'll have a beer. Maybe I'll have some wine with her too. And then we'll have dinner and watch The Crown together, which is a lot of fun. And then I'll go to bed. There we go. I think I've laid it out. Keeping my hand clear of the dog. He bites. All right. Thank you for joining me today. And with this, as I click this button, my life is done. And I wish you all to be safe, but not too safe. Take care.